All right, well, I'm gonna get started. It's 3:01. We might have a few more people log in. A few people told me they couldn't catch today, but I'm gonna shoot them the recording. And today is Friday, and it's an amazing day in Arizona. So I want to be conscious of everybody's time. All right. I've got a really awesome property here, and I'm going to run through a little presentation. If you have questions along the way, feel free to bring it up or throw it in the chat. But if I move the conversation along, just know that I'm just trying to be respectful of everybody's time.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. Let me. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, good.
Good.
All right.
You might just ask people to mute ourselves so we don't get too much.
Oh yeah, maybe if
going on.
everybody can mute for the feedback. Some of you guys know me a little bit better than others, but I'm going to do a quick intro, a little bit about myself, my background, and what we do with real estate. Talk about who we're looking to partner up with, and go into the property specific details. Kind of what I love about this one specifically, where the money's going to come from, how we make it, and what that looks like going forward if anybody's interested. So a little bit about me. I'm 42. We got two kids, 8 and 10 years old. I started my entrepreneurial journey back in 2007. I left the corporate world at Toll Brothers. I had some construction and real estate background, but I started a painting company back then. Painting was the one thing that I knew the best. But I also knew that there was kind of a ceiling in that industry. So all those years I worked my tail off and made as much profit as I could. And I was buying real estate every year. That was the goal, buy at least one property a year. And I didn't buy one property every year, but some years I bought multiple. And over time, that compounds to be a pretty nice portfolio. So the real estate company is called PRS Properties with me and my wife. And that has become my main business now. And so the last couple of years, I've really transitioned out of the day-to-day with Envision and really just been full-time real estate. I've just realized that that's where my passion is. I love it. And when I look at, hindsight, what's made the biggest financial impact for me, it's by far been the real estate, other than, opposed to the painting company. But again, I'm also a licensed real estate agent. I don't act as a realtor. It's not my business, but I use it for myself, which helps save on commissions and controlling the process along the way. And then in the meantime, I started and sold a pest control company. We started in 2020. We just sold it in October of last year. And part of that was because my realization that I just want to focus all of my time and energy and resources into real estate because I love it. And it's got the biggest upside, way more than I feel than any service business. So currently right now I've actually got almost 20 properties that I own. Most of them are 100%. Some of them are with partners. We've got almost 50 tenants. Every month we've got a rent roll that comes in over 60,000 a month. And I also invest with other guys as a passive investor through my IRA. If you don't know about that, you could set up an IRA to invest however you want. You just can't invest it in your own deals, which is kind of weird. So I'm very much aligned with long-term real estate. 5 years to freedom. So back in 2018, I started this big goal for myself. I wanted to create financial and time freedom. I wanted to be able to travel the world and not be tied down to my business. And the only way that I figured that was going to happen was by bringing in enough rents to cover my living expenses. So I started this big goal, and every day I woke up 100% focused on it. Within 4 years, I got to that point. I could retire and just live off of rents. But I realized after you travel for 2 or 3 weeks, I thought I wanted to spend all the time with my kids. And lo and behold, spending 2 weeks abroad with your kids, I realized I don't want this. I need to feel productive, right? And so it's kind of funny, once you get that freedom, now I dive back in and I'm busier than ever, but it's just full of passion and all kinds of cool things going on. And so now my new BHAG is to 10x my life, 10x my finances, and 10x my travel over the next 7 years. So I got a goal to see 50 countries and really do some special things. But along the way, I've done some pretty cool things. Last year, I became a best-selling author on Amazon. This is a co-author thing. There's a lot of amazing authors in here. The book's available on Kindle and Amazon. It was a really cool project and checked off another bucket list for me. I've been on podcasts and in newspaper articles, both for my painting company and for what I've done with real estate. And it's just kind of cool when, you know, people hear what you're doing and you get a little bit of that recognition. And a couple other things. I'm a part of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. A few years ago, we made it on the Inc. 5000 list for my painting company. And this is the ABC 15 doing an episode on us because we had started disinfecting buildings around town during COVID, and we were doing it for free, nonprofit. So we got a lot of PR out of that, and it was kind of neat. So I get a lot of questions, you know, like, hey, you know, you've got a pretty good thing going on. You could sell your business and just coast, right? And so I've done a lot of soul searching, and, you know, you may have done some, but, you know, they say a strong why will help you push through any challenges, right? And so I really did some deep dive onto what is my why, what is my purpose, why do I keep pushing forward? And here's a few of those things. But, you know, a couple things that stick out to me is really like, you know, I don't know if you guys listen to Ed Milet. He's got some really good speeches about every family has one person that changes the course of their bloodline in history, right? And so the one person, and I didn't come from a whole lot, right? But I am the one. And so I've sort of embraced this in the last year or two. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to make a difference, not only for my kids, but for my grandkids and their kids and their kids, and hopefully for many, many generations to come. And so that's really what one of the backbones that drives me to keep going forward and taking risks that otherwise aren't absolutely necessary, right? There's a really good website if you're interested in doing a deep dive on yourself. It's called 7levelsdeep.com, and it's just a question. And, you know, you put in a goal or something that you want to accomplish, and it asks you, why is that important? And you fill it out, and it's going to ask you that 7 times. And there's something magic about asking yourself why something is so important 7 times in a row. After the first 2 or 3 times, it starts getting tough, and you got to really start looking deep. And it's interesting to see what you come up with. So onto the property. It's a 13-unit property in Apache Junction. This is kind of it's a bad image, but it's an aerial overview. It's 2.5 acres. It's got a bunch of different buildings. So it's there's a 4-plex. There's 4 duplexes. There's a little laundromat, and there's a mobile home, which is actually in pretty good shape. And there's a pool. So it's got the laundry building, 2 coin-op laundry sets. I just talked about that. 80s built. I've got it under contract right now at $1.444 million, and we're set to close end of March. In that includes a $25,000 closing cost credit. Cash down, basically the loan that we have lined up, $500,000 down, and they're financing the rest, 65% loan to value. There's some other cool things about this loan that we have in place that I'll get into in a little bit. And then once we buy it, we're going to do some immediate improvements. We've got a $125,000 budget. We're going to do the roofs. The current owner just did 2 of the roofs because they were leaking in the last rains that we had. But the other ones need to be replaced or repaired. Luckily, I'm a roofing contractor, and we've got that dialed in, so that'll be pretty easy. 7 of the 13 units have been renovated in the last 3 years. So 5 of them have not. So in here, we've got the budget to go in and renovate units as they become vacant. Deferred maintenance always comes up when you buy a property, and then miscellaneous stuff. So total capital contribution is $625,000 for this property. So I've got, here's a couple of videos. This is one of the interiors of the units. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath. This is one of the ones that was renovated, but you can see it's got new cabinets, newer flooring, basic white appliances, but it's an open layout. It's a big box. And when I compare this to a lot of the other apartments that I have, this feels bigger than it actually is, just because it's an open square, and it's pretty clean. And at the price point that we've got this property at, which is about $110,000 a door, it's almost unheard of. This is the mobile home over here. This was built in the 80s and it's a fixed. And this is actually really sweet. It's got the vaulted ceiling, a lot of open natural light. You know, it's not brand new, a little bit dated, but it's clean. It's got an extra like living room down here, and it's on a big lot. Like he's got a lot of yard space. So nothing too impressive, but if I didn't mention it before, for those of you that we haven't really talked about, I really like investing in the workforce housing space, safe and affordable housing. To me, it's really just the least risk with real estate, and there's always a demand for safe and affordable housing. So this fits the bill exactly for what I'm looking for. Let's see. So at 110 a door, generally in Phoenix with apartments, it's almost impossible to find something for less than 150 a door. And when you do, it's usually half vacant. The tenants in there are all drug addicts and they need to be kicked out. The place is a wreck and you've got to completely renovate it. And this is 100% occupied right now. Current rents are at $11,900 a month. And our expected loan costs right now are going to be about $7,000. So it's immediate positive cash flow. There's definitely, you know, there's some expenses in there for sure. There'll be management expense and some utilities and so on and so forth, but it's positive cash flow day one, which is extremely rare to get at this price point. Like I mentioned, it's really finding anything for less than 150 a door in Phoenix is almost impossible. Now, this isn't Phoenix, it's Apache Junction, but it's close. But I've got a deal, and I'll tell you why a little bit later why it's a deal. But any way that I look at it, I've got some valuation models. I'm expecting, you know, if I were to put a valuation on it right now, it's somewhere around 1.65 million, comparatively. So it could be more, it could be less, but one way or another, it's a lot of equity. They're in good condition, like I mentioned. At this price point, a lot of times they're run down. They require a heavy lift. This is another unit. This one was renovated. 7 of the 13 have been renovated. New cabinets, new flooring, you know, newer appliances. And it's 80s built. So again, this price point, most of the time you're looking at something from the 60s or older. And when you look at older properties like that, you have bad wiring, you got bad plumbing, you got bad bones, you got bad everything. But 80s and up is really actually, it's ideal. So just another reason why it's rare. Here's a little shot of the exteriors. They all have a little yard, and the exteriors are synthetic stucco, which is kind of cool. This is a pixelated image of the front. It's desert landscaping, low maintenance. And I like this because comparatively, I have other apartments that have grass, and grass is like the biggest con for any freaking landlord there is, because you got to pay to water the grass. Then you're paying the guy to cut the grass, and the guy that cuts the grass screws up the sprinkler heads. You got to pay him to fix it. And it's like this horrible cash flow cycle that just drains you. So when I see nothing but dirt and freaking cactuses, this is like a landlord's dream, right? And then the buildings are all synthetic stucco, and you know, it's easy to maintain. The fact that it's on a big parcel means that there's space. So most of the tenants are in a duplex. They only have one common wall. So when people are considering where am I going to move to, you know, in this area, there's not a lot of, there's nothing like this. It's either this or they're going to move into a fourplex building, which is 2 on top, 2 on bottom. They got somebody walking above them, making noise with the kids, 2 neighbors, you know, like it's just a crappy little building. Here they've all got a little backyard. They've got a front covered patio. Most of them can park right next to their front door. And those are like some of the small intangibles that most tenants at, you know, on the lower end, they don't get. So when they see it, it's going to be highly attractive. Looking east from the front of the property, you get this view of the Superstition Mountains, right? It's really beautiful out here in Apache Junction. You got Superstition Mountains to the east, to the north, you got more mountain views. It's more of a rural area compared to like some of my other properties in downtown Mesa or downtown Phoenix. And it's a different tenant base, which is good. We've got, there's a couple families in there, but mostly it's a It's an older white population opposed to like the Hispanic population in downtown Mesa, who are going to load up a lot of people in the apartments. So people live out here because they want space, and once they get out there, they're set. Like one of the tenants, when I was walking the unit, the first thing she said was, "I've lived here for 10 years. You're not going to kick me out, are you?" And so like it's really desirable for this certain demographic. So it's got a little laundry building here. And to me, this is cash. This is money. This is income. The current owner does not claim any income from the laundry on his income statement. And I found out from one of the tenants that one of these machines is broken, so they only have one each. It's so immediately we're going to take these out. I'm going to bring in different machines, and I'm going to try to fit in at least 3 sets. So one of my other properties, we have CoinOp, and each set brings in an extra $250 to $300 a month in quarters. So if we can load it up with 3, we've got 13 tenants. It'll get used, and there's not like another option for them nearby. There's not like a nice laundromat that takes credit cards, electric, like it's not there. So this will be an immediate boost to the income. No major repairs needed, which is beautiful at this price point. Like I said, it needs some roofs. My guys have already looked at it. We're dialing in the price, but it's really going to be, it's probably 25, 30 grand at the most, maybe less. We're going to look and see. Some of them might be able to be salvaged. Some of them we might not need to replace. We just put another layer on. But regardless, it's nothing too crazy. The loan terms, we've shopped out the loan, and we've got a really amazing loan already in place. It's going to be fixed for 5 years. The rate that I'm getting quoted is about 7%. We didn't lock it yet. We're waiting to see if it ticks down a little bit. But they did offer the first year interest only, meaning the loan payment will actually be less because they know we're going to make improvements, which allows for more cash flow in the first year. And since we're making improvements, they've actually said that when we do these improvements, I can submit the invoice to them. They will reimburse us 65% of the total cost. So basically, we're going to roll in, maybe $100,000 or so in addition, and get 65,000 back, which will get added to the loan, but it's less money out of pocket. It's a really nice deal. It's better than I was expecting to get. So they're all individually metered for electricity, which is another bonus. At this price point, a lot of times the buildings are just on 1 meter, and the landlord has to pay for all the electricity and then try to like bill back the tenants. But the thing with that is the tenants don't give a shit. They got the windows open and the AC pumping full blast, right? And so those are tough. But when the tenants pay for it, that's really the ideal scenario. And you've got these electric panels here. If you've looked at older buildings, I look at this and I just get a big smile because this is like 80s built and newer. This is not the old school electric panels. So recap the high level numbers, went to it for 1.44. That should be a 4. We get a closing cost credit. Loan payment is loan amount of 65%. We're putting 500,000 down. 125 for CapEx and reserves, so 625 total capital contribution. Let me see here. What's it worth now, right? And so like anything, it's what is somebody willing to write a check for it? It's in the eye of the beholder, but a few different valuation models I've got here, right? So, back of the napkin, a lot of people will price things out on a per door basis. And so, I mentioned 150 a door is really the low range for Phoenix. If you take that and apply that here, that puts us right under $2 million. Hold on, I got somebody not muted.
Well, we did this. What I can do.
My friend Oscar. All right. So even if we look at, okay, what is it at 125 a door? That puts us at 1.625 million, right? That's 200,000 in equity. So a cap rate is another valuation model. Right now, things, around 6% is kind of what I see nowadays. 6% cap rate puts it at 1.7 million. 5.5% cap rate puts it at 1.8. And then a gross rent multiplier, which is a little bit different, but the property that I bought in October, the appraiser used the gross rent multiplier for the income approach valuation. And the number that he used was 175. Now that property is in South Phoenix. It's not next to it, but the areas aren't very unsimilar. They're both like kind of affordable housing areas. So 175 gross rent multiplier on the current rents puts it over 2 million. You drop that down to 150, it puts it at 1.7. So any way that I look at this, there's a ton of equity. The lender's doing an appraisal. The appraisal is normally based on, you know, like the potential of the property. It hasn't come in yet, but I have no doubt that one way or another, it's a nice deal that we're walking into. So income and expenses, current gross rents, 11.9. I'm projecting to get the gross rents after the first year up to 13 and a half roughly. Projected loan payment about 7,000. And the plan, essentially, first thing we're going to do is RUBS, ratio utility billing. So although the tenants are paying for their own electricity, the landlord is paying for water, sewer, trash, which is very common, but it's also the easiest way that we can go in and increase rents, increase income without increasing rents. We say everybody's got to start paying their fair share. The water, sewer, trash bill might be 55, 60 bucks, whatever that is. That's the first easiest step. Then we'll go through and start doing the repairs and improvements. When the time is right, we'll start bumping rents. Our plan is always to try to bump rents just below market rate. So we don't necessarily want to push people out, but we want to get our fair value. Inevitably, there may be people that do move out, and when that's the case, we will improve those units or just clean them up and get them rented at market rates. And along the way, we'll have positive cash flow. We'll allow it to appreciate. We share in the depreciation as well, which if you're not familiar, you know, when Donald Trump talks about not paying taxes, it's all because of depreciation. And so this is a powerful thing that gets split up with the investors. And then principal pay down. So as you know, when you've got an investment property and tenants pay that mortgage for you, a large portion of that goes to pay down the principal of the loan. Now, the first year, if we do interest only, there'd be no principal pay down, but moving forward, it would. So, you know, any deal in real estate, there's three parts to it, right? You've got finding the deal, you've got managing it and operating it, and you've got the money side, right? So what I do is I do all the work, and then my investors bring in the money and we split the profits 50-50, right? So it's basically a hands-free investment for my investors, passive, and you just get to lean on my experience and knowledge. So everything, you know, it starts with finding the deal. And honestly, finding a deal like this, you know, could take 100 to 200 offers. Like this is rare, but that's what I love. I love the hunt, and I'm constantly making offers and asking people to dance and see if we can make something work. And then when I got a deal, then I strike on it. But I secure the financing, and I'm the personal guarantor on the loan. So like none of the investors have anything on their credit. There's no guarantor. It's all on me. And then I take it all the way through. We improve it. I'll facilitate the refinance, and then when the time is right, we'll exit the property. So I'm a numbers guy, and I like to see like what does it look like conservatively? What does the projection look like? So I'm going to walk through this a little bit. So I always say that real estate pays me four ways, right? You get cash flow, equity gain, principal pay down, and depreciation. Those are the four main financial benefits, right? And so when I look at those, how do those line item out for the property and then for the investor split? Conservatively, if we were to take a 3% appreciation rate for the next 5 years, and we factor in the cash flow projections, principal pay down is really just math, and depreciation benefit is just math. This is what the property would produce with a 3% appreciation, average per year, about 25% ROI, and then 50% of that to the investors. And so this is assuming, you know, there's one investor that funds it all. That's not going to be the case. In this deal, we'll have somewhere between 3 and 6 that we bring in. The numbers will change, but the percentages will stay the same. And the depreciation here, So this is a straight line calculation. And these numbers assume that you're in the 35% tax bracket. So this is just a way of kind of like streamlining it to make sense. If you're in a higher tax bracket, the depreciation value would be higher to you. If you're in a lower tax bracket, the depreciation value would be lower to you. And then, so what if, you know, based on historical, what if we get 5% appreciation from here till 5 years from now? What does that look like? And so this is that model. It bumps it up, you know, to 30% for the property and roughly 16% for the investors over 5 years. But the goal with this property is not to make, you know, that return. The goal is what I call an infinite return. And it's basically when you get to you're playing with house money, right? And so this is kind of the holy grail in real estate. I've done it several times already. One property, it took 4 years. I did one property in 1 year, and I've done some in 6 months. But the goal really is to get this to the point to where the value is high enough that we can refinance, and the lending environment is good enough to where we can get a new loan that pays off the existing loan and all the money that we put in. And so at that point, we take all of the capital and send that back to the investors. Here's your money back, sometimes even more, and it's tax-free at this point because it's a loan. And then we continue to own the property, and it continues to cash flow, appreciate, depreciate, and increase in value. So that's really the goal with this property. We've got it's a prime property for it. We just need to wait for the lending environment to be conducive for it, and it could be in a year, could be in 3 years. I'm not really sure. It could be in 5 years, but I think a lot of people are guessing that over the next couple of years, rates will tick down a little bit and things will ease up. But the plan is basically when the time is right, we'll do that. The loan that we're in is a 5-year fixed, so we've got plenty of time. And then really, I'd like to hold it for 5 to 10 years and sell it when the time is right to sell it. And so we're looking for, hang on a second. We're looking for people that have that long-term mentality, 5 to 10 year hold cycle. This is not something that we plan to exit in 3 years. We could definitely return capital in 3 years. That would be ideal, but I don't want anybody banking on that or needing that. Luckily, we have options though. With the instant equity, we could turn around and sell this right away for a lot of money. But I think there's more money in the waiting. There's no prepayment penalty on the loan either, which is another bonus. Most of the time when you get a loan on a property like this, they're going to have a repayment penalty, which really hurts if you go to sell or refinance. So a little bit about kind of like how I operate versus some other people. Like I said, I know other guys that do this on a large scale, and I invest with them and I'm buddies with them. But what I found is like the typical syndication model, there's just a lot of misalignment, right? Generally, you're going to pay 2 to 4% in acquisition fees. This is what they charge to do the deal, even though they're paying brokers. You're going to pay 2 to 4% in disposition fees if they refinance or sell, even though you're paying brokers. And you're going to pay 2 to 4% in asset management fees along the way. So the operators they're getting paid before any profit distributions, before any splits, right? This is their income engine and their model. And if there's travel fees to go to the property, if they need to take the property manager out to lunch, it's all getting billed to the account. You know what I mean? So I've modeled this a little bit differently, which what I felt like was a lot more alignment. And basically I work for free until the investors make money. Okay, so everything that I've done now, like I'm not getting paid. I won't get paid until the checks go out and we split it 50-50. With this, I'm incentivized to build long-term wealth, not quick income. I'm not a transactional guy. I'm not trying to increase my earned income because that's the highest taxable income you can be in. I want to increase, long-term wealth. My bills are paid by my other businesses. Like I don't need to do this to survive. I do it because I love it and because the potential upside. And I've got control of the renovation crews. So owning a construction company is huge. I mean, when you have control of the guys, you're not getting screwed over by guys that lie to you and don't show up and change order you left and right. It's a big difference. I've been through the last boom and bust. I lost my first house, and that's kind of what shaped my conservative nature moving forward. And at the moment, I mean, I have no over leveraged properties or risky loans. My entire portfolio, we've got 45% loan to value ratio. I've got no loans coming due. And so I'm really just in this prime opportunity moment to take advantage of opportunities when they come up. But the reality is, like, what I'm doing and what I have done, it's not rocket science at all. I'm just a copycat, and I've learned a long time ago just to copy the smartest people in the world, right? And no matter who you look at, that's on the billionaire status, they're going to tell you the same thing, right? It's a long-term game. It's not about timing the market, it's time in the market. And that's why my strategy is always a long-term play, and it's always worked out well for me. So what we're looking for, it really is silent partners, money partners that can invest $100,000 or more in any given deal and be okay with that for a 5 to 10 year hold without losing sleep at night, right? I'm not in it to bring people in that, this is their life savings, or, it's going to cause some burden at home. But, people that have some money maybe stashed away in a 401k or just sitting in the bank making 5%, I think this is a much better place to put that. And that is all. So, are there any questions?
Nicely done, Pete. Good job explaining everything. That's great.
Thank you. Oh,
Thanks, Pete.
all right. Well, yeah, you bet. So it's 3:30. If there's no questions, I'll let you go. If you want to shoot me a text afterwards, if you've got any questions, or give me a call, I'm available. So you're welcome to reach out. Otherwise, I really appreciate your time, and I hope you win this weekend.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Pete. I just want to say, happy. Sorry, I was in the car jumping on this, but that was very informative and great presentation. Look forward to definitely working together.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys.